Yo, what's going on, everyone? It's Brian and Jim here with Drink a Beer and Play a Game, and today it's our final video for the Level 50 Club update.
Done! It's over! Thank God.
It's both. I am relieved it's over,
Slightly bittersweet.
but also, can you believe it's been a fucking year?
That went fast. Too fast.
Like, I can think back. I looked back at my list. I was like, I played that in January or February.
Yeah.
This year just friggin' flew. Maybe it's because we're finally out of the pandy and we're like doing normal shit again.
Probably helps. And that we, in between, living life again, we got around to 50 games, 50 plus games.
Yeah, so before we get into our final entries, first of all, thank you everyone who joined in the effort. And there still is time. We know there's another week left, but honestly, I don't know about Jim. I may beat one more game, but it's very unlikely. So
no, Brian, I have 10 endings of Shadow the Hedgehog to get to. So no, I will not be playing anything else probably until the end of the year. Thank you, Drewski.
So, but no, we want to say, once again, thank you guys who have joined. Some of you absolutely killed it. I know the last count I had was Lucas was up to 160. I know Calkeg was in the 70s. There's a lot of folks. Burn Retinas, I know you're at 48. Blade Blur's at 49. So
yeah, Ikari Slugger, he's right around there. Snarkast, he's been over for a little while. So
I hope you guys are around the edge there. I hope you make it. Just give yourselves an easy game. Jim's list is made of those.
Yep. Don't kill yourself for this.
No, but it's been a lot of fun, and I will say it achieved, for me, I cleared a lot of backlog.
Yeah, same.
Now, granted, there's probably 5 to 10 entries that I wasn't anticipating playing, or they were new games this year. Threw a little curveball, but I'm just glad it refocused my mind. Instead of just picking up COD or PUBG or some game I've always played, it kind of forced me to be like, let me get through a game I haven't played.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, it's been fun. But let's get through our final games from this year.
Yeah, and our final tier lists will be on the website. So check the link below to the website. It'll be there.
Man. Talk about dichotomy. These back-to-back games I'm going to mention. The first one, we got Lady in a Leotard with a Gun. We've already done the review, so if you haven't seen it, please click the link below. From our good buddy Travis. It was a Patreon review request.
Yep.
It is god-awful. It's shovelware. It's 49 cents, so it's cheap. There's no way you can't give this an F. The game fails on every level. It's not fun. Even though it's took me 12 minutes to beat, I can't give it any points. There's nothing I can say redeemable. The song I would have given it to, because good old Tim Beek, but you hear it too much. So yeah, that's a solid F.
All right.
Jim will be talking about his score for that in a second.
Shortly.
But to move from that side of the scale to the other side is XCOM 2, which is another Patreon review, and that is an S through and through. We had that review coming out, and it's going to be out before the end of the year, but here's the deal. I don't want to spoil too much. We both really love the game. XCOM 1 was on my top 20 favorite games. This game took everything XCOM 1 did, made it better. There's so much to go into. It's an amazing game. If you haven't played it and you're looking to get a tactical shooter, give this one a try.
My first game 48, Lady in a Leotard with a Gun. Yeah, it's pretty bad. Check the link, as we said, to see the full review. But I gave it a D. Brian, do you want to know why I gave it a D?
I have theories.
What's your theory?
To piss me off because of her ass.
Okay, no, I did not put that on there, but that's a good reason too. It's because it was 49 cents. It's 49 cents. I know it's cheap. I know it's just shit out. I know it's barely a game, but it's 49 cents and it does its job of being an achievement. What do you call it? Whoring, basically, of being a trophy sniper. So, you know what? It gets a D. I've played worse. I put more time into worse. I didn't hate it as much. It didn't overstay its welcome.
So if you want someone to truly critique something, you gotta have standards. Just look at them.
Standards are for nerds and virgins.
So next one is, surprise, surprise, another Patreon request, Metal Hellsinger. And this one, it's another one that the review will be out early next year. It's a rhythm-based Doom clone is the best way I'm going to call it if you've never seen this game before. One of the best soundtracks, especially because it was original and it had a lot of great bands in there. The control could get a little finicky if you don't screw around with the calibration. It was a cool concept. The biggest issue was it's a little bit short. So when it comes to score, I could only give it a B. I actually really enjoyed my time with it, but there wasn't a ton of variety once you got past the third or fourth level.
All right, my next up, my 49, XCOM 2. Yeah, it was donated to the page. The full review is coming, like Brian said. I absolutely love this freaking game. This was my obsession. This is the most time I put nearly 80 hours into it. It's the most time I put into a game, and I couldn't even tell you how long. And I did that in like the span of 2 months. So like I just did not put it down. But it's fantastic. It's infinitely replayable. If you haven't played it yet, the collection with the expansions everywhere, and it's super cheap, so go get it.
Nice. So my next one is the Booty Creek Cheek Freak.
Rolls off the tongue. All right, Scott Steiner, let's hear this.
She's got a big ass. So this is from Jordan Knight, and he's under the umbrella of Puppet Combos, Torture Star. So Jordan Knight is the one who
From New Kids on the Block and KOTB. Go on.
So here's what I'll say. This is like someone who clearly grew up watching South Park, had that level of humor, and said, what if I make a game about a monster, demon, whatever you want to call him, that only appears after you take a shit on a floor in a bathroom in the middle of the woods at a certain time of night, and then he appears to come eat your cheeks.
Remember, I'm the one without standards.
He is. Because if Jim played this, he'd probably give it an S. Whereas I could only give it a C. The humor's there. There are some like legit scary parts. There's such ridiculousness. But for games like this guy Jordan Knight makes, they're actually done really well, if that makes sense. I'm not so worried about the story. The games actually play well. So yeah, I would never highly suggest it to anyone. But it plays, it gets you through. It's kind of tough at some points, but it's a creepy, kind of funny game, so I can't hate on it too much.
All right. My next game, my number 50 was Code of Princess EX on the Switch.
Has standards. This fucking guy, Code of Princess.
Hey.
Code of Princess.
So Code of Princess was originally on the 3DS, a pretty early game for it. And it was like hyped up at the time as like a spiritual sequel to Guardian Legend Guardian Hero, whatever the fuck it is on the Saturn. I never had a Saturn, so sorry, but yeah. So kind of RPG-ish beat 'em up game. Also kind of reminds me of Dragon's Crown. This is apparently an enhanced port, so it runs better. It isn't as slow. It has some quality of life improvements. You can have more people in your party, but it also weirdly, like, it got rid of the English voice acting from the original port in 2012.
It did?
It did.
Damn.
I'm shocked, too, for some reason.
Oh,
but
shit.
when it comes down to it, like, there's not that much to the game. Like, I don't know. Like, people were hyping it up, so I was like, all right, I'll check this game out. Yeah, I should not have bought the $40 physical of that. Because it's a C.
$40.
Or it might have been 30. It was probably 30.
40. It doesn't matter. At that point, you're already so much more over it. You just talked about, well, a game that's only 49 cents, whatever. So what'd you give this game, Jim?
I gave it a C. It's okay. Like, it's not great. I don't know why so many people hype it up. It's repetitive like beat 'em ups are, but a good beat 'em up keeps it interesting. This one really didn't. The humor, like, it's really Japanesey, so like it wasn't lost on me, but I was still like, it didn't reach out to me. And you can get through it in... It's also weird because it's like 30 chapters for the story, and each chapter is like 10 minutes tops. But you hit these brick walls of just like power creep, and like you just have to like grind like out of nowhere to like get past a level or a certain boss. and then you're fine again for a while, and then bam, another brick wall. So it's just not that great. So it's a C. Like, it's just plainly mid, I would have to say. Don't get it on a sale digitally. Do not track down the physical. Don't do it.
Don't play it.
It's not a must play.
What I would call a must play, and chances are if you've watched anything, you've heard about this game and you can play it mobily now, Vampire Survivors.
Mobily.
Mobily. So this game, I'm sure you've heard of at this point. In theory, you could call this a walking simulator because all you do is move your character around. You don't control how they fire, how many times they fire, or even the direction. You just walk around, get power-ups, and it's a roguelike, and I forget how many stages there are, but the game is...
There's 5 storyline stages, and, well, I guess technically 6 until you unlock the 5th one.
Yeah.
And then there's a couple challenge stages.
Yeah, so it's a game that is as addicting as any game you can play. And it's one of those ones where you think, one more run, and before you know it, you're trying to unlock every character, get every, achievement. The game is just fun as shit. We played it for free on Xbox Game Pass. There's not much I can really hate on it, other than when I was finally done with it, I was kind of glad to be done. Because there does come a point where you basically become godlike, and it's almost bored. Like, you're almost waiting for the level to end, or you choose to end it yourself, because the difficulty just goes away once you hit a certain level with all your powers. With that being said, I still gave it an A. I loved my time with it. It's not the deepest game in the world, because I think I did everything in it in probably 12 hours, maybe 15. But still really, really fun. Highly recommend it.
All right. My next game, one Brian already talked about, Metal Hellsinger. So, played it on the PS5. It's basically everything Brian said. I struggled with it more than Brian did. I don't know if it was because of, the DualSense controller not having the greatest triggers in the world, or me playing on a 11-year-old TV and just having to deal with, super crazy latency or something like that, because, yeah, I struggled. I enjoyed parts of it, but it never seemed to get out of, second gear for me, for, my enjoyment. I was like, okay, that stage where it's Gear 1, you learn the game. Gear 2, oh, I get it, this is kind of fun. Hoping to go over that hurdle, just never happened for me. The review will be coming out. I was probably way kinder to it in the review than I'm going to be here. I gave it a C. It's fine. The music is obviously the best part, but if you're not good at the game, you're never going to get to fucking hear it. So that's a frustration there. But it's well made for what it tries to do. I never found myself having a ton of fun with it.
Same score as Code of Princess.
Yeah.
Let that settle in, folks.
Yeah. It's a better game than Code of Princess. It's a higher C. Code of Princess would be a C-. This would be a C+. Not quite a B.
Well, my next game, now, this is at a point where I really was not planning on beating any more games, but I saw this one on Game Pass, Trek to Yomi. It's a side-scrolling action... Yeah, I guess a side-scrolling action. It's not really hack and slash. So you play as a samurai who, I don't want to spoil the whole story, but you end up needing to trek through Yomi, which is, in Japanese mythology, it's the underworld kind of equivalent to Hades.
It's the name of the game!
Titular title?
Yep.
But it's really fun. It's in black and white, so highly stylized. Looks like it's one of these ones where you hate to say it, but the game looks beautiful. And it will last for generations because of the style. The sword play in it is really tight and really well done. You can't just mash buttons. And there's 3 different endings, which they get to you because you need to play through the entire game to get to it. It's not one of those save here so you can see all 3 endings. So with that being said, I gave it an A. I really enjoyed my time with it. I am going to go back and do those other endings. And it's not one of these 20-hour games. You can probably burn through it in 6 to 8 hours. So it's worth giving a try.
Nice. My next one, Vampire Survivors.
Hanging off my deck. All my stuff, he's just got hanging like a sloth.
Whee! What is life? But yeah, no, again, what Brian said. You know what? It's fantastic. You know what's weird about this? So a couple years ago on the site, on my own, I reviewed a game called Death State. And it's kind of along the same lines where it's a roguelike where you don't control your firing. It was a little bit more in the Binding of Isaac kind of, era, not era, but, type of roguelikes.
Style, yeah.
And I was kind of trying to think to myself, like, why did, like, no one latch onto that game, but, like, everyone memed and latched onto this? Now, maybe being $5 on Steam helped, and being on Game Pass, that probably helped with exposure.
Yeah.
But I think it's because of how over the top it gets, because of the combinations of weapons and abilities that you can have.
Yeah.
And then, like, just when the screen is filled with hundreds and hundreds of enemies coming at you, and you're just mowing them down, like, it's just stupid fun.
Yeah.
And I actually have to disagree, because once you get past, like, the story and the 5 levels and you unlock characters, you can make it hard for yourself. You can make it very hard for yourself. You can enable curses. You can go and get these ring and, like, arrow items that can make life a hell of a lot harder for you.
But I got to the point now, I don't know if you got as far as me, every single level, not only would I have every curse, but I would get the ring and thing. But when you get those and power them up, they become even more powerful weapons.
Yeah, what do you call it? Yeah, they turn into things. That's part of the fun, too, is unlocking all the combinations and the super weapons and all that stuff.
Like I said, it's one of those, the game is brutally hard at first. You're like, fuck, how am I ever going to get to this?
I haven't beaten the boss rush yet. I'm still trying to do that.
Oh, yeah. So I beat that, and it's another one. I got to a point where I was like, oh, once you know the combos you should do, like, you get those ultra special weapons through certain combos. It's I'm not saying it's a cakewalk, but it's like if you get there's so many times I just exited out of the level because I was like, nothing can actually kill me now.
And there's really no reason for no one to even at least try it. It's on phones and it works perfectly.
Yeah.
It is a perfect port. And it's free on the phones. It's not like paying for Game Pass. It's like, oh, I have it on Game Pass. No, it's actually free.
Yeah.
And you only sit through ads if you want to revive one time per level or get more gold.
Yep.
So that's it. So, I mean, there is literally no reason to not at least try it. So I gave it an A. Like, obviously if the gameplay was a little deeper, it probably would have been an S tier, but it's, for what it is, it bats above. It's awesome.
Yeah. So my next game, similar to what Jim said earlier, I'm giving this one a little bit of leeway, but it's actually a solid game. It's called Creepy Tales on the Switch. I don't know if it's available for other consoles. I found it for $1.49 or something, some really ridiculously cheap thing. I said, let me give it a try. It looks like Brothers Grimm mythology mixed with a puzzle-solving game, because it's you and your brother. He gets kidnapped by some, like, forest monsters that look like where the wild things are.
All right.
And then you basically, each level is like either a monster's house or like a witch's house or 2 castles inhabited by spirits. And the puzzles aren't super obvious. You can easily, like, you're like, it's 2 screens long. What the fuck am I missing? But it's one of those games that it's hand-drawn. The animation style looks pretty cool. Once you beat it, though, there's literally, you never have to pick it up again. So I could only give it a C. But I did enjoy it, and it was nice playing on the go with the Switch. Super cheap. Even at full price, this is probably only a $5 game. It's definitely not a must-play, but if it's something you're really into puzzle games, or like I said, those Grimm fairy tales, it's worth giving a try.
Cool. My last game, Game 52, averaged 1 a week at the end of this.
I have you as 53, Jim.
How many?
You're at 53.
No, I'm not. I'm at 52.
I have 53 for you. And you even put 53 on
I do have 53. Never mind. I'm stupid.
See, when are you going to learn not
Over
to
1
argue
a
with
week.
Daddy?
See, I whatever. It's been a long year.
Come on,
Shadow the goddamn Hedgehog. That's the last game. Shadow the Hedgehog. It's another Patreon review request. That review won't be out until next year in January-ish or so. This game.
Perfect.
It's a D. It might be lower because in order to see the final level, you have to beat it. You don't just have to beat it 10 times. You have to get all 10 unique endings before you can see the final thing. So you can be playing through, and as you play through, It's not like you can save after each level. It'll save for you, but you can't go back and change what thing you did. Or if you missed something, or if you had a mission that you were trying to beat. Because the main thing is, like, you have a good mission, a bad mission, and a neutral mission in every level. And how you combine all that, that's how you get your endings.
So you're saying Hades copied this idea with me and beat it 10 times, get a true ending?
So yes, it copied like the differing paths of Star Fox with like the needing multiple replays of like roguelikes. Asshole game. Asshole.
Sounds revolutionary to me, Jim.
Oh, it's revolutionary, all right. Have fun when you get around to playing it, Brian, because you have to.
I can't wait.
Yep, you're gonna oops, I have to kill all 50 enemies in this enemy. Oops, I tried to home in on a guy and I went flying off the level. Wonderful. Or, oops, I missed an objective and then I hit the wrong exit and now I have to redo the entire playthrough of the game. So.
Can't wait.
Yeah. Brian, let me give you a little... Obviously, we don't have to do this many to get to it. Did you know that there are 320-some unique paths that you can go through depending on your combinations of levels?
Of course I can.
I hate you. Yeah, it's a D. Probably should be an F, but...
Wow.
Yeah, I am not enjoying myself.
But let's, once again...
Yes, it's down there, Lady in the Leotard with the Gun. I enjoy Lady in the Leotard with the Gun way more. Way more. It's just as broken, and it doesn't take 10 fucking endings.
All right, you heard it here. That's Jim's opinion. So.
The only redeeming factors is... I mean, you can... There's like... You know what the only redeeming factor is? The voice acting is all the people from Sonic X, and I like Sonic X. So, that's the redeeming factor.
Nice. Well, Jim went out on a rough patch.
Sure did.
So I have 2 games left. So the last game that's a new game that I beat is Proteus, and this is a Doom Eternal / Doom 2016 clone, purposefully done in the original Doom style, but it's like with all the upgrades of the newer Dooms. It's a really nice clash. It's got the heavy metal soundtrack. I would almost argue more gore than Doom in some moments. And it just has like all the secrets. It's everything you want. It's unabashedly that style of a Doom clone. And you know what? It's really, really fun. Like I feel about sometimes with Doom, where you get to that point where you have every upgrade for a weapon and you almost feel like you're going through the motions. You're like, all right, just kill multiple waves, get this new monster. Like there hits a point where you're kind of like feeling a little samey, but still it is an excellent game. It's on Game Pass once again, but it's for Steam. I think it's actually been out since 2018. It was initially a demo, and Todd Snarkcast actually said it's still in demo because every time you beat a stage, it says like, "What'd you think of the stage? Like good, bad, whatever."
Huh.
So I guess they're still technically developing it. Whatever stage it's in right now, just go out and play it. If you like Doom, you like FPSs, this is a must play. So I gave it an A. Really, really fun time.
Yeah, I watched you playing it the last time we recorded in. Looked pretty polished to me.
Yeah, no, I like I said, I don't know what else they're gonna do to it, but if they make it somehow better, I'm down.
Tits.
Yes, they always make it better. They're no Duke Nukem 3D.
True.
And then my final game. I was on the fence if I was gonna add this, but it's a game I've played for a very long time, and I've never completed one of these things. I'm putting Dead by Daylight. Now, the only reason I am is because there's these things called event tomes, and like, if you're familiar with like, you know, like the battle pass system in like Call of Duty.
Yeah.
If you beat so many challenges, you unlock all these things.
Yeah.
It's the first time I've unlocked everything in a battle pass thing. So I was like, I think that's the closest you can get to beating the game.
I mean, you have like a couple hundred hours, so
yeah,
you can allow it.
Yeah, but yeah, it's Dead by Daylight. You guys watch me on streams. I've talked about it enough. It's a must play if you're a horror fan, if you're looking for asymmetrical horror games. And it's amazing how many games over the past 2 years have popped up to combat it, and they all kind of falter, and this game keeps going. So whatever its staying power is, I think it's more the licenses they get for the killers. But the one thing dragging this fucking game down is the community. there are some shitty people playing this game.
You've bitched about the community since day one.
I mean, if you watch anyone who plays this, like, that's honestly always the number one thing. It's hard to describe why it's so bad. You just have to play. It's basically be like every time you decide to play GoldenEye with somebody, there's always that asshole that's always going to pick Oddjob, not ironically, but like legitimately. Or it's like playing with a friend who shows you Halo for the first time, and they know where all the specials are, and they show no mercy. Jim. So it's like you're playing with people that try and sweat way too hard. They're purposely there to grief you, and it's just shit that's like, okay, whatever. It just gets annoying. Even with all that, though, I still love the game, but I can only give it an A. That community drops at 1 point. It's still one of my favorite games, but I can't give it an S because that community. And that wraps up my list. So I'm at 57 games. Now, what we want to do right now is take a quick peek at our list. I want to see what was your favorite and your least favorite game from this year. And then I also want to see... I have some interesting stats from both of us.
All right.
So, yeah, we're going to break that down right now. All right, so first, I want us to start with our favorite game from the list that we played. And, Chambers, you actually had 9 S's on your list. So, what was your favorite?
It's got to be XCOM 2. XCOM 2 was that was the biggest obsession. Now, for months, until about mid-October, I was going to say Blasphemous. Because that really blew me away. Love the art style, love everything about it. Fantastic Metroidvania, one of the best I've ever played. Haven't played a ton of them, but that might be the best one I've ever played. But yeah, XCOM 2 just became such an obsession for me. I couldn't not pick that.
That's your go-to.
Yeah.
Nice. Yeah, for me, I hit some very heavy hitters with GTA 5, God of War, Witcher 3, Bloodborne, XCOM 2. But of all those, I'd probably have to go... Witcher 3. It was between that and God of War. God of War, I really appreciate, and once again, huge shout out to Todd for giving me God of War Ragnarok code. I can't wait to play that game. But I don't know, obviously the depth of Witcher 3. It was a game where I first started and I went, oh my god, I don't know if I'm gonna like how long this is. Doing it this year, and it took 60 to 80 hours. I don't even know how many hours I put into it, but it is really fun. The different ways you can play, all the little monster hunts you can do. It's just an excellent title. If you haven't played it, it's not an overrated game by any means. You got to go try it out. Now, Chambers, on the opposite end, what was your least favorite game of the year?
Okay.
And you have 5 Ds.
Yes. So I didn't have any Fs, but I did have 5 Ds.
You did.
You know what? Fucking... I have to put more time into... Shadow could very well have taken it if I'd, had more time. Just you wait.
I mean...
Just you wait.
Listen, after going through Donkey Kong 64 and a collectathon, I will still have more fun shooting things than just collecting bananas. That's all I'm going to say.
I'm sure, but I will say this. I'll probably be the one going through and getting every single footage for all the endings. That's me making up for it, you asshole.
That's still, even with all the endings, you're still only like a third of the way of how long Donkey Kong 64 takes.
You say that. But guess what, Bri? I know it won't just take 10 playthroughs to get it done.
Well, get good.
No, I'm going to get something, all right. But yeah, no, so with that caveat there, I have to say the worst game I played was Spyro Orange the Cortex Conspiracy. Because, like Shadow, it's got a lot of bullshit padding in it. It's got terrible... At least Shadow, it has fun spurts where Spyro had no fun.
Nothing.
At all. Painfully bland, painfully boring, barely worked. It's just a bunch of mini games that also barely worked inside these hub platforming levels that were annoying. And then it made you go back to every single one and play every single mini game and get, a certain score and shit like that to get a medal to progress through before you can go to the final level. Which was like in fucking Shadow. So I'm sensing a trend. But yeah, so Spyro Orange was the worst one.
Okay. So for me, I did have 3 Fs, and they were Cockhead, Lady in a Leotard with a Gun, and Sneak King. All three terrible. There's a common theme with all three. Buggy as shit. And Lady in a Leotard, that game still is like a demo. Cockhead is... It's glitchy. It's one of those where it's like, oh, it's funny because it's going to be like Cuphead, but with a cock and everything's... It's just awful. And then there's Sneak King. And maybe because for the review I had to go through every level and suffer through the same animation over and over.
Those gauntlets are hell. Those final stage gauntlets are hell on earth.
So what I would say is, if I was being objective, the worst game is probably Lady in a Leotard because it's the least of a game. The one that would probably let most people down is Cockhead, but the least fun to play is probably Sneak King because that game is just it's.
Right, I would gladly platinum Lady in a Leotard before ever touching Sneak King again.
So I can't give the worst to Lady in a Leotard because you can be done with it fast. That is its advantage. And that's how I'm kind of breaking down between Cockhead and Sneak King, because Sneak King, maybe because I had to play it for the review and get all the footage, that made it that much worse. Whereas Cockhead, I just kind of did whatever. And there was like 2 levels where I was able to cheese and actually just skip the level altogether, which was like, oh, it's like finding a nice little cheat code that I didn't know existed. So, yeah, I got to go Sneak King.
E for
that game was really, really bad. Of the other Burger King games, we actually kind of liked them.
Yeah, the other ones, there's fun to be had.
Yeah.
There is no fun to be had in Sneak King.
Yeah, so that's definitely my worst game, for sure.
Yeah, I didn't finish Sneak King, so that's why it wasn't on my list, but that would be a contender.
Yeah.
That's for goddamn sure.
But Chambers, looking... Oh, and my phone dropped. Hold on.
Smooth.
So Chambers, I was looking at our list, and I know one of the things we talked about is like, you know, oh, we give a lot of B's or C's, and I broke down percentage-wise for each of us. So when it comes to S's, I gave 7, which equated to about 12% of my list.
Cap.
You gave 9, which was 17% of your list.
All right.
So a little heavy on the 7s, or
hey,
on the S's for you.
Played better games.
This is where the trend is very obvious, and this is why Jim is Jim. So the A's, I gave 13 A's, 23% of my list. You gave 17 A's at 32%.
I'm consistent.
And these range from things like Streets of Rage.
Yep.
To Legendary X2.
Yep.
To Fire Emblem, The Sacred Stones.
Yep.
To Astro's Playroom.
Right, that sounds like variety to me. I didn't just play 1,000
so very
Puppet Combo games, Brian.
Very, very hardcore in the A's. And if you remember, I've said many times on many reviews, Jim is very forgiving on games that either he has to pay for or play too much.
Variety is the spice of life, Brian.
For B's, I gave 14 B's at a quarter, 25%. You gave 15 B's at 28%. So we're kind of similar there. That's really the bulk of our scores, except technically yours are A's. C's, I gave 13 at 23%. You gave 7 at 13%. Which I thought you had a lot more C's, and then going back,
I thought I did too.
Yeah. D's, I gave 7 at 12%. You gave 5 at 9%. And then I'm the only one with F's.
Yeah, what do you call it? If Lady in the Leotard wasn't 50 cents, that probably would have been my only F, but...
I mean, I think it's bold that it sounds like Spyro was pretty bad. And not having played it sounds like
really
that
bad.
Probably could have been an F. Now, this is a thing of... I can't tell...
I don't know why I didn't give it an F, but it easily probably could have been an F.
Listen, I look at myself as being very forgiving. But seeing the way you scored your games...
I was
ultra forgiving.
I was basically saving F for like something that was just completely broken and unplayable. Which nothing that I had on my list, Shadow notwithstanding, not having finished that yet.
I mean, I said it's a consistent thing. When you put time into a game, I think you have this syndrome of, I'm going to find something I like if I'm investing time in it.
Yeah. Because there's a lot of shit that I started that I just was not enjoying and I stopped.
But I'm saying there's a lot of games we've played or reviewed, like Superman 64. You were very forgiving on that game.
I just like the rings. It's always forgiven.
There's
about.
other things you kind of gave it some passes.
It looked like the show. Looked like the show.
So it's just a fascinating, maybe it's when you get radios in a song.
Look, Bri, there's enough negativity in the world, all right?
All I want you to do is keep it 92 plus 8 for me. That's all I want you to do. That's it.
Bri, if I could quote Dante in Devil May Cry 1, just take your dark heart, fill it with lying.
But I just want you to be honest to people.
I am honest.
Don't pad it. You ain't gotta pad the scores.
I ain't padding shit.
You padding shit.
I ripped the shit out of goddamn Lady in the Leotard.
If
I just didn't give it an F.
You know what a bell curve is, right?
Yeah. Oh,
you lived and died by the bell curve.
I lived and died by the curve.
With yours, your bell curve would be almost every game you play is an A, which is clearly just not true.
I played a lot of good shit.
Do you? Or do you just score things a little too high?
Played some good stuff.
I was actually...
A few of them maybe could have been bumped down to Bs. Maybe.
My whole thing is I knew my scores, with the B, me and you had, like you said, almost the same amount of Bs. A lot of it was, for me, the puppet combo games where I was just being fair. Like, I enjoyed them, but I was also like, I can't really give them higher than this. So, yeah. I don't know. It was very interesting. You had a lot of S's. But then, when I was re-looking at your A's and S's, I was like, oh, because there's like 10 games here he's played a million times.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's like 10 games on my list. That was like games that I have played before, so.
Son of a bitch.
Hey. Meh.
So, once again, we love that you guys joined in with us. I'm not sure. We already have been asked, are we going to do this again next year? I don't think we're going to do the exact same, like, level 50, but there will be some... Just call it some version of a challenge for us to do.
Yeah, people in the Discord are throwing ideas our way, too. So we're going to talk about it, and by January, we'll have an idea for next year.
Yeah, because the bigger thing is I just like seeing everybody else, what they're doing. And as I said, there's still time. If you want to submit even a full list that you've already done, do it. We'll throw you on the leaderboards, and it's just been a fun time.
Yep, definitely.
So with that, everyone, we want to say thank you for joining in with us. Thank you for watching, and cheers.
Cheers, everyone. Good year.